Bible time. I don't know about you, but all of this rainy, cold weather this last week, it hasn't been a lot of fun. We've been stuck inside a lot, and it doesn't give us an opportunity to enjoy the beauty of nature around us. And when I think about nature, I think about the amazing world that God created for us. That's what our Bubble and Bible story is about today. We're starting way in the beginning of the Bible, in the first book called Genesis, to hear about how God created this world around us. Enjoy today's story about creation from Genesis chapter 2. When God created the heavens and the earth, there were no plants in the field or anything growing because God hadn't sent rain yet. Then God took dirt right from the ground and he molded it into a person. God breathed life into the dirt and it became a living, breathing being. After that, God planted this beautiful garden in Eden. It was filled with all kinds of trees with lots of fruit. He included lots of plants of all kinds. The garden was remarkably full of color. In the middle of the garden, God placed a very important tree. It was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Then God created rivers around the area that would water the land. Next, God took that person, that living, breathing person he made, and he placed him right in the garden. God wanted him to take care of the garden around him. He said to the man, you can eat fruit from any of those trees or eat any of those plants, but do not eat from this tree of knowledge. Then God looked around and thought, it really isn't good for a person to be all alone. So God started again from the ground and he formed animals of all kinds. Animals that could live on the land, or maybe animals that lived in the water, even animals in the sky. Then God brought these to the man and asked him to name them. Now I think that sounds kind of like fun. If you didn't know any names of animals, what would you call them? Well, if I saw a picture of this flying in the sky, I maybe would call it a freedom glider. Or if I saw one of these, which we see a lot of around here, and it was in the woods, maybe it was a winter tree dog. It's kind of fun naming these. Or if I saw one of these, you know what I think I would call it? A sleepy hanging bear. Now, this next one, I really hope I don't see one of these up close. I would call it a nope rope. Or what about this last one? Maybe you guys could come up with a fun name for this one. I think it's a spiky forest rat. But who knows? What other names would you come up with for all the animals you see? Now, God thought those animals would be enough company for the man, but God still wanted somebody else for the man. He didn't want him to be alone with the animals. He wanted the man to have a partner. So he again took some dirt and formed another person out of it. This time it was a woman, a partner for the man. The man and woman took care of the garden together. They enjoyed eating the fruit from all of the trees and tending to the animals. They were so happy to care for God's beautiful world. But then, one day, a tricky serpent came up by the woman, and he said, did God really say you can't eat fruit from the trees in this garden? The woman said, no, God told us to eat fruit from all of these beautiful trees, just not that one. The one in the middle, the tree of knowledge. He said, don't even touch it. Now that sneaky snake smiled and said, God doesn't want you to, because if you do, you will know everything that God knows. Man, this tricky snake, he was being very sly, and he was probably wrong. But once the woman started to wonder about that tree, and that really beautiful, delicious, juicy looking fruit, what would it taste like? And what would it be like to know everything God knows? The woman, she was convinced, and she plucked one of the beautiful, juicy, big fruit off the tree and took a bite. And then she took a piece and gave it to the man, and he took a bite too. Immediately, they knew they had disobeyed God. They were so ashamed. They knew they had let God down big time. That night, the evening cool breeze came, and they heard God. They felt his presence around the garden. However, because they were so ashamed and so worried that he would be mad, they hid behind the trees. tricky snake who was up to no good. And after that, God wasn't happy with them. And they knew they had disappointed God. Now, do you ever feel like that with your parents? When you make a mistake and do something they told you not to do, like jumping off the back of the couch? You know they're probably going to be mad. And maybe you'll get in some trouble, lose some video game time, or something like that. But thankfully, your parents forgive you and love you so much. That's how God feels about us. He is probably mad when we make mistakes, but he loves us and forgives us for those mistakes because he knows we are not perfect. And what an amazing God he is.